Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith. Almost dropped my little sign there. Today, I'm talking about Cunning Folk by Adam L.G. Nevill. And this is from Ritual Limited, apparently. Look at that fun little logo. And look at that wonderful cover. This cover art is Samuel Araya. And he has done a number of Adam Nevill's covers, and I've enjoyed every single cover of his that I've seen for Adam Nevill, and I hope to have the entire collection of these covers. Anyway, what we have here with Cunning Folk is Tom, his wife Fiona, their 4-year-old daughter Gracie. They have moved into a new home. It's a fixer-upper. It's got a bad history. They know about it, but Tom wants to bring his family out into sort of the country. There's woods behind the house for his daughter to play in. But Tom has a negative encounter with some weird neighbors, and things start to escalate, and things get horrifying. That's your nutshell. So, all right, too long didn't watch? 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely fantastic. There you go. Cunning Folk. Adam L.G. Nevill. That's it. That's not it. All right. So this is folk horror. Tells you right there on the top of the book. And so there is a cold open with the former tenant of this house. So we see some crazy, creepy stuff right off the bat. Then we meet Tom, Fiona, and Gracie. They're moving in. They've spent all of their money. They've borrowed money from Fiona's mother to make a go of this, having their own house in a nice, tiny, isolated village, woods, everything. But it is a fix. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some money. Tom hasn't been working. And so there's pressure already. A bit of pressure on the family. But then their next door neighbors, the Moots. They're weird. There's weird stuff going on over there. And they're not nice. And there's altercations. And the altercations get worse and worse. And weird, very strange things start happening. Some nightmares are had. Some waking nightmares are had. Some scary things happen to Gracie. Some horrifying things happen with Tom. Fiona, she's kind of left out of it. But this starts. I hate to use slow burn or slow build because the creepy stuff does start off pretty early on. But it does build to an absolutely horrifying conclusion. Adam Nevill, fantastic writer. It's a very British book, which he says there's an afterword, or story notes as it says, and he says it's very British. And there was one chapter, the very first line, I read it and had to stop and remember what this bit of slang meant. Fortunately, I knew it. Just didn't come to me immediately, so I didn't have to look it up or anything. But yes, very British going on, and he's building a world, a very isolated world, but building a world, and the characters are well drawn characters, and it does build to a point where I did not want to put the book down. It was compelling enough throughout the thing, but when I was tired or I had to go to bed because I had to get up and go to work, it was like, okay, I can stop here. But I got to a point last night, as of this recording, and I did have to go to bed because I was going to work on Saturday like a crazy person. But I was like, fine. My Saturday was voluntary. I could show up whenever I wanted. I'm not going to bed until I finish this. Something so horrifying happens, and I need to know where it's going from here. And it continues to escalate. So absolutely fantastic. Builds the world, gives us great characters, shows us characters breaking down, shows the escalation of this war, for lack of a better term, between the neighbors, and has this folk horror element to it. There was a point where I was thinking, are these things actually happening, or is Tom cracking up? Except that Gracie also experienced things, and I never at any point thought Gracie was cracking up. So that was just me not being very smart, I guess. But it's, man, fantastic. I definitely need to read much more Adam Nevill. I've read some before. I need to read much more. If it's this level, then it's well worth reading. I absolutely loved this book. 5 out of 5. I've got so much other stuff to read, but I think Adam Nevill might fit into the semi-regular rotation because this was just great. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to give away the secrets of what's going on. I don't want to give away the horrifying thing that happens or, how that all plays out. I think this is a book that I obviously highly recommend, and you should go in and just let it all wash over you. Just experience it. And it is an experience, I think. At least it was for me. So I'm going to reach over and grab it again because I'm going to show off that wonderful cover, just that black and white and red. Kudos to Samuel Araya. Cunning Folk, Adam L.G. Nevill. Fantastic. All right. I did not think of a question beforehand. I had meant to look up an actual definition of folk horror. It's a term that I think gets thrown around a lot in recent years. It's been around for a long, long time. Even things like The Wicker Man and other things that I can't think of off the top of my head. Adam Nevill mentions a few in his story notes at the end. But I wanted to look up. For me, it's sort of horror that delves into mythology that isn't like Greek, Roman, Norse. Although I suppose those might fit into folk horror, but for me, it's usually more of almost a druidic, a British horror or British mythology, druidic mythology. Maybe Native American or maybe indigenous mythologies. So it's not going to be, Zeus or Odin or Ra or Set. Although I'm not saying it can't be, it's just not my experience. It's usually these smaller mythologies, maybe more land-based, Earth, Gaia-based mythologies. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. As I said, I meant to look it up, forgot to do so, because I went to work very early this morning, and then I came home and took a nap, and then got up and played a little with my niece, and etc., etc. And now I'm doing this. So, I guess my question is, are you familiar with folk horror? Are you a fan of folk horror? Do you not care whether or not something is folk horror? For me, of course, the easiest answer is I don't care if something's folk horror. I just want to read a good, entertaining, perhaps scary story. But I don't avoid folk horror. There are anthologies, relatively recent anthologies, I think, that focus on folk horror. It's weird saying folk horror over and over again. Um, so it's not something I look for. It's not something I shy away from. If it's a good author, if it's a good story, I dig it. I think there is, especially in the right author's hands, there are very cool elements to folk horror that give it a little plus, I suppose. But regular viewers know my taste is all over the place. So I can't really give a definitive answer, but I'm going to ask you to give me a definitive. No, you can answer any way you want. You don't have to answer at all. We're real casual here. But, if you care to, let me know your thoughts on folk horror. Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. And on Blue Sky, I'm @ELSmith. That's all I have for you. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.